really
Oh, you
happy
mean
I didn't get those to work on it because I'm terrified and I don't play horror games. And I was like, imagine you getting this opportunity and then you review it and your eyes are closed the whole time.
those are kind of the best playthroughs, though, for sure. Those are some of the best playthroughs.
For y'all,
This is-
y'all don't have to go to sleep at night
Yes.
like with me. You know what I mean? I mean, like I know you get everybody. The dog.
Oh,
is
my
up,
mic was off the whole
husband's up,
entire time.
everybody's
Your
up.
mic was
There
off
we
that
go.
whole time,
Oh,
bro.
yeah, we are live. What's up, bro?
We're live, everybody.
Hey.
We're just kicking it, enjoying our Juneteenth. But it's time to get into business real quick, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce what's going on here. How's it going? Happy Juneteenth to everybody watching. I go by the name of Malik Forte, and welcome to the Geekdom A Career Trailblazers of the Industry panel. Now, everyone that you see right now showcase the ingenuity, the resilience, and the adaptability to find a way to make a career in scenes where Blacks are pretty much marginalized. Against all the odds, these folks continue to trailblaze in their respected areas of expertise, and they are here some of their experience and some of their knowledge with you guys. And I'm personally just honored to have all these guys in the same room right now. These guys are world-class individuals. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, though. We're going to start with you, Shidosha, and just kind of go around in a circle.
All right, my name is Shidosha, former FGC turned personality, now producer. I've done a lot of work. Actually, I got lucky because I got my start in the wildest of places. I got my start with Sega and Twitch before it was Twitch. So I lucked out on the media side with that. But since then, I've been doing itself with a lot of familiar names and places in regards to media and anything gamer related. You've seen my face many times before, I can't even speak, or at least have heard me get into some trouble here and there. So that's what I do.
Right. He also had a lot of people wearing T-shirts on their head for a long period of time. He started a trend.
I knew he was going to bring that up. I knew he was going to bring this up. I was trying so hard to talk around that I even stuttered. God damn.
Bro, it was fresh. It was fresh, man. It was fresh. You trailblazed. You trend set with that.
I appreciate that.
All right, let's move it along to you, Kacha.
Oh, me? Oh, sorry. My bad. Yo, Kahlief Adams here, president, owner of the Spawn to Be podcast, the premier podcast spotlighting people of color in the video game industry. Yo, I'm super excited to rock with y'all. It's going to be real fun today. I'm very, very hyped to have this conversation. So, what up?
Thank you, Kahlief. Yeah, man. I need to personally take my ass onto the Spawn on Me podcast just one time.
Yes.
Just one time, bro. I feel like me and you, we've been crossing paths for so many years, and we still have not had that sit down. So cool.
We're gonna have it. It's coming.
All right.
Don't do the California thing though. Never mind. Now we'll talk about it later. No,
okay.
Just go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. We'll talk about it. Erin, what's up?
Hey everyone, my name is Erin Ashley Simon. I am a host and TV host when it comes to esports and gaming. I started out actually working in traditional media, in traditional sports and also music media. I've been in the media world for, oh my gosh, I think 11 years. I started when I was 16, 17. So it's been about 11 years, but in terms of the esports gaming scene, it's been about, I would say 3-4 years. So I'm happy to provide on just my journey and some of the things and challenges I've had to overcome being a person of color who's Black and Latin and, the face being out there. So I'm excited for this.
Indeed. Erin, I would say when it comes to just raw hosting talent, you're pretty high on that totem pole, I would say. I feel like you got those mechanics down to, it's just like, it's easy to you. It comes pretty naturally, right? Did you even study for any of that?
Yeah, I went to school for journalism. But another thing too that I always suggest to those who are interested in hosting. So I actually I've had a career as a producer. When you understand a lot of the behind the scenes work, it makes you better as a host, and you will able to understand a lot of things that are needed and what kind of energy and transitions and everything like that. So because of all the behind the scenes I've done, it's just made me a better host naturally.
Right. Well, you seem like you are a veteran, and it's almost as if your career is still beginning. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Let's keep it moving though with Junae. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, you are now rocking with the hostess with the mostest. This is your girl, the natural hair gamer, Junae Benne, and I do journalism of all sorts. I went to school for broadcast journalism. News is really sad, so I transferred to video games, and they can be just as sad. So nobody told me that. I do a lot in the journalism field. I've been with So many outlets, so many organizations that do focus Black women first, and then being able to bring us all together. I love highlighting Black women in the community. That's like my thing. I'm like super into the FGC. Just that was like my first introduction to esports, and it pretty much all started there and then evolved. I host a lot of like one of the biggest tournaments in Colorado before DreamHack got there, and it was a fighting game tournament. So like that's like one of my top notch accomplishments that I'm super super proud of, and that's it.
Yeah, Junae, I feel like you and I, we were both our come ups in the sense that we started off as journalists, and I remember actually running into you at PAX and you coming up to me and just giving me your card and saying like, "Yo, I'm getting sick," you know, and you reminded me so much of me. I was that guy who was like, I will go up to whoever I need to talk to network. I will do that. I will make it happen. So yeah, that right there was just like,
that's all I do. Yep.
Yeah, it was super inspiring. And then now you're just doing everything. You're super involved with the FGC. Real quick, what's your game of choice? Fighting game.
Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
You didn't see me on E-League?
I saw that coming. I saw that coming. Yeah,
I'm an E-League player. You're welcome.
Ooh, she had to let that one slide out real quick. I love it. All right. And last but certainly not least, we have Danny in the building. Danny.
Yes, thank you so much for being able to allow me to be a part of this awesome group of individuals who are in the industry. My name is Danny Martin. I'm the founder and CEO of Geek Leads. I own a 15,000 square foot esports arena in Dallas, Texas. I pride ourselves on providing opportunity to our local community in regards to interns from the local ISDs all the way to college graduates. We're really focusing on full production and esports tournaments. And our space has the components of music studios, podcast rooms, all the such. We think of our space as an incubator for individuals who are looking to be able to get into the esports industry to help them develop. So we've had a considerable amount of individuals pro in esports. So that's something that we're really focusing on, is providing opportunity for individuals.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I cannot overstate enough how important it is for us to have people like you out here representing in the industry. Of course, everyone else on the panel, we kind of come from the content creation standpoint, well, for the most part. But you are somebody who's on the executive level of an esports organization. That right there is super important as a person of color, because that's something we don't really see often when it comes to video games, period. So I definitely want to give you kudos for that. Now, I was doing my research on you. You just announced something pretty cool coming up pretty soon. You want to let everybody know what it is?
Yeah, so we have there's two things that's coming up. We have a G League that we really want to be able to put together for the Dallas locals who want to turn pro, for the NBA 2K League, which we're going to have influencers, some celebrities that we partner up with. And then we also built out LMS from a technological perspective that offers schools the opportunity to learn management, technology, marketing, production, and competition. We've already had 2 schools graduate from our course, and we're looking to be able to tap into many schools around the nation as well. So we're working on 2 of those aspects right now.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Right? Shidosha, where was this stuff when we were growing up, bro?
That's what I was about to say, man. Lord have mercy. All right,
it's so cool. It's so cool. Danny, we're definitely going to be picking your brain throughout this entire panel, because we want to know more. We want to know more, man. We want to know how you started this. So why don't we go ahead and start this whole conversation off? Of course, this is going to be free flowing. Everybody feel free to chime in when you want to chime in. We're not on rails or anything like that. Just be laid back. I want to talk about everybody's big challenges in their career, and if there's any particular challenge that stands out above the rest. And I guess I'll go ahead and start it. I mean, for me, being somebody who made the transition from traditional game journalism into esports, it was kind of 2 different worlds. And coming into esports, I realized I was sitting in a lot of those boardrooms as the only black person. And so when they're trying to figure out a way to appeal to everybody, and then everyone in the room turns and looks at you, there's a process that you go through dealing with being in that position. Because at first you're like, well, do I tell them everything? How much do I tell them? Can I truly be myself without them ridiculing me? And there's just like a whole mental, like a meta game that you go dealing with that situation. So I feel like a big challenge for me was learning to really just let go of all that tension, all that thinking, and just be me and just be proud and not let society's standards of how they view me affect my work and what I'm trying to do. And that right there just is me spitballing off the top of my head. But who wants to go first? Like, anybody else want to throw out there like big challenges that they've had to eclipse in order to get where they are today?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'll start. I mean, one of the foundations for the show itself was because I didn't see folks who looked like me in the space. That was definitely one of the reasons why Spawn of Me became a thing. I remember it was just Ngai Kroll and Will O'Neill were the two cats I saw who were in front of camera doing stuff, and being out front and doing that work. And I was like, wow, what would the 16-year-old version of me want to see in the world? Kind of fast forwarding another 10 to 20 years at that point, now being in the space for over 10 years. And it's always been one of those things, like from a media perspective, it makes me so happy to see folks like Erin and Malik, like especially being out front and doing that work on camera and being folks. I'm like, oh, I don't have to try to filter out what I'm saying and thinking because they already probably get it, right? We have enough of that camaraderie and culture that we have together to be able to see that stuff work, and on top of that, be fantastic at what they do with the knowledge that they already have. It adds all these dope layers to it. So it's like having that conversation always be about not only seeing ourselves, but seeing people doing that work better than some of the other folks in their field. That to me, thing that always came through and was always the thing that we tried to figure out, and I aspired to doing that work. And it was always walls. Access is a big wall, especially as a person doing media and content. Access is a big wall. Getting your name out there. Again, the conversation about quality versus quantity is a huge part of that conversation. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to for sure.
Kahlief, when was it that you got your first access, if you don't mind me asking?
Sony hit me up actually. One of the first things I ever did that really kind of started the process for me was I was covering a game called Sound Shapes that was on the Vita at first, and was tapping people in the community about the DLC that they were making, the user generated content that they were making. And Sony hit me up because they were like, hey, we want to do the same thing. Why don't we collab and do this work and put your work up on the PlayStation blog? And that was the first time that I got love from one, a big company, and two, in a space that I was like, oh, this means that people actually appreciate the work that I'm doing away. How can that be the catalyst to continue to do more stuff? And then it's been, layers upon layers of busting behind and getting more opportunities and being in front of people and networking that has pushed it to be bigger than what that initial thing was. But it took a long time to get that thing done. And that was at least 3 to 4 years into doing that blog way back in the day. So it took a while even just to get to that point. So yeah, for sure.
The amount of years that we've worked pro bono to make it in this industry.
Bam. My God. I don't even want to talk about it.
My God.
For the
so
look. I hate that.
I want to add on to that because, in terms of my entry in media into the hosting for esports and gaming, the definitely not getting paid for the work that you put in, something that I dealt with. And it was an experience that I even had to do at Cheddar Esports. Now that Cheddar Esports is done, I can speak on that. What most people don't know is I actually was a permanent part-time host at Cheddar Esports. I wasn't even a full-time host. And
wait, say that again?
I was a permanent part-time host.
Wow.
Yes. So
they
I
made
had
that one up.
So I had that. And no, but I have to say the team that I worked with was amazing. Zane and Rick and all of them were amazing because the one thing that we really worked to do at Cheddar Esports was to not only highlight the best of the best, but we tried to give as much of a diverse perspective when it came to esports and gaming. And so, our team worked really hard. And also another thing that a lot of people don't know is, I was basically our booker. I was one of our main bookers for our show. So with that, I was given free range to bring people who, might have been smaller, but had amazing stories. And so that was great. But definitely during my time and experience, I have to say I did not get paid well for the work that I put in. But I'm someone who understands that this is a problem, not just in esports and gaming as hosting. This is a problem in entertainment and media, period, and especially when it comes to people of color. And so, I took that situation and was like, okay, how can I make this into a better situation? So I worked my butt off, eventually got signed to CAA, and then it's just been a whole different story since then. But another thing that's been an obstacle, in addition to, the payment part and really getting what you've earned and worked hard for, the other part of it too is because I'm a woman and also because I'm a Black and Latin woman, there's a different credibility standard for me than it is for other counterparts. So I was put through the ringer in the sense where if I talked about games, someone asked me about it, it's like, oh, so your favorite game is Fortnite. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you talking? I'm like, no, I used to play Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy. Like, I've been playing video games before a lot of these kids were even alive. So, but unfortunately, it took me even longer than I personally think, even longer than maybe other colleagues or counterparts, because women, how we are viewed in this industry, even from a hosting perspective, is it's as if that they have to ask us more questions just to prove that we know what we're talking about, and also to prove that we're actually gamers, which isn't fair at all. And then there's an extra layer to it because I'm also Black. So that was definitely some of the challenges that I had to overcome. I think that with the amazing work that we do at Cheddar Esports, I was able to overcome it with reputable industry people who were there to say, no, like, she is great, she does. But not all of us get that in the industry. Sometimes it takes longer. So those were some of the two things that I struggled with and dealt with, especially during my early time coming to the industry.
Yeah. And you know what? It's crazy because from our perspective, it seems like everything's just great. The work speaks for itself, right? So like, Erin's killing it. That's all I see. I see Erin's killing it, not knowing that you're truly going through some things behind the scenes. You're really fighting with these executives to get your voice out and get your perspective out and your vision out. So yeah, I totally feel it. I know you being a woman, a Black woman, on top of that, adds to the amount of stress and the amount of barricades that are in front of you as you're trying to reach out for your goals. Junae, could you speak to some of the challenges that you've dealt with as a Black woman as well?
Heck yeah. So I feel like I had to forge my own path to video gaming is because I wanted to wear my natural hair. And just recently, it's been okay for people to wear their natural hair, like on NBC and stuff. So I feel like not only Black, I'm dark skinned, my hair is like dumb kinky. You know what I mean? Like shrinkage is everything. And so what happens, especially in the FGC, when you have people talking crazy about Black women, sitting up here trying to interview people, trying to be real professional, trying to get these, people talk to you crazy, people talk to you sideways, people discredit you. I'm like, hey, I know you have a media team, but it's all white boys. So hi, sprinkle there. And so, like, with that being said, it's just like, it's just a lot of layers. Like Erin said, it's a lot of layers that you have to push through, that you have to be like, I ain't worth this. You know what I mean? And part of my drive is to be so good that you can't do my work. And I feel like I'm one of at least the fewer dark-skinned women in the FGC. And so I want to be like, hi, it's Junae. You know who I am. You know what I mean? You didn't see me before. You didn't see me talk to all these people. You didn't see me do all of this stuff. And so with that already, people confusing me for Raina. If you don't know, she's like a super cool TO. You know what I mean? Yeah. Being confused for like other people. And you're like, no, we're being confused with the purple Sharpie. And you're like, I didn't mention anything about Skullgirls. I don't know how you confusing me.
Right.
But like, just things that it's kind of frustrating because you're like, I just came here to write. I just came here to interview you. You should be different. You shouldn't side eye me. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be like, we were talking earlier about like racism in the FGC and how people put on like a really, really good front. And so, like, oh, we don't need you right now. No, they don't need a Black lady. They don't need a Black person. They need this. They don't want, they don't think that self am reputable enough to bring them the numbers that they're looking. And instead of telling people how great it is to have inclusivity and inclusion, and you should have Black women. I just tell them, Black people like to see their own people. If you don't have us in there, you're losing money, you're losing views, you're not getting as many people. And I need for it to come down to money, but it feels like I have to say this so I can get there. So that's some of the things that I've dealt with. Like, even I actually started teaching people how to like fill out press passes and things like that, so they have a better opportunity to go to these things, and you know how to pretty much build themselves up. Because when I came into video game journalism, I made that up. It was like 2013, and I was like, I want to do what they doing on G4. I'm a video game journalist. All I did was put video game in front of journalists, and that was it. You know, I was like, how do I cover E3? Because I'm watching these people are able to look a certain way, but it's like, I was a teacher for a while, and you go with me on this, right? Because now my story getting real long. I was a teacher for a little bit, and I was one Black female teacher. There were Black male teachers, but I was the only Black female teacher. And one of the teachers were white, and she had like a piercing and like a tattoo. And then that was like before I like colored my hair and started doing everything crazy. And I remember I was talking about it, and the lady who was in charge of us was like, absolutely not. She was like, you know, I get it. I get how you are, I get your personality, but you can't do that. And so the not feeling like I'm able to be allowed at the same level to like look weird and still be taken as professional, I feel like I can't just roll up. Like, even if I am at like Frosty's, Combo Breaker, CEO, Evo, I can't just go there and like onesie, you know, like everybody else, and be like, I'm an otaku. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I gotta look mad professional and be like, hi, I'm Benne, I do this, I do that, I do. And it's almost irritating, you know? Because you see other people and you like, man, she didn't even get dressed. Man, he didn't even do that. You know what I mean?
I go to fighting game tournaments and I see people walking around, and everybody's celebrating.
Yeah, you know, but then it's like, if you were, maybe you could probably do that now, and they'd be like, oh, Malik, so cool. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you can't do that stuff when you're at a smaller level. And that's, you know, because I felt like I came into video game journalism to kind of escape the pressures of wanting to be on NBC, ABC, and having to wear my hair straight, having to like look a certain type of way. And, you know, it kind of feels like that here. Like, there's colorism, you know, there's all types of layers, and it just kind of gets frustrating. I want to be so good that you're just like, you got to use her. I don't care how she look. I'd be up here bald headed. I don't care how I look. I don't care if I got patches in my head. I don't care what. Y'all gonna put me on TV because I am the expert. I've done the work. I did this. I did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of the one thing that I feel like we don't say enough amongst each other, because we know what it is, right? We're getting looked at under a microscope, and all the time. We got to work 3 times to get to where we're going, and at times, you know, I get in my bag and I'll start complaining about that. Why do I have to always work twice as hard? But I've kind of just at times embrace it and just be like, you know what, this is making me stronger. I'm actually lifting more weight. I'm gonna be better than all these people when it's all said and done. So I think it's really important that you make that point.
I'm gonna be the flyest out there. I'm gonna come in my ball gown and my fur coat and whatever else. Like, if I gotta look fancy, I'm gonna look the fanciest. Like, you might as well.
Stun on them, yo. Yo, Shidosha, I'm gonna let you put a button on this topic in a bit, but I wanna talk to Danny and him a question, because you're coming from of the industry, being somebody who's their own organization, as an owner, a Black owner, Black CEO. Could you tell us some of the struggles that you've had starting up your company and putting it out there and seeing people viewing your company as a company and not as owned by a Black male?
Yeah. I think it's one, you just mentioned it, is understanding how resilient you have to be in order to go through all the obstacles is very critical. I tend to have like a serious demeanor, but I'm really fun at heart. I just think that, as you stated, you have to be this microscope and you have to be pretty perfect at everything. And as I was talking to some staff members yesterday, it's just like sometimes when they make mistakes, I have to let them know, like just recognize if I walk out of this door into the city around, they're going to be, making sure that they say, hey, Danny, are you doing everything according to, and as soon as you're not, it's going to be on the news, it's going to be, talked amongst on next door. For me, one of the challenges that I've increasingly experienced is raising funds. So like when I first, I spent a couple years in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, understanding how to build tech startups. And when I came back to Dallas, all right, I really want to build a startup that was geared towards esports because of my experience in engaging with Xbox and PlayStation. And so when I started building out a tournament hosting platform, I really was like, okay, I can build this tech communities, and I started researching and going to FGC events and Call of Duty events. But when I would go out and try to pitch about the platform that was built, you don't have anybody who looks like you, so they don't really understand. So I had to kind of take a seat back, and I was just like, well, one, I'm not in those communities, so how could I build a platform for them? But naturally, if I was to receive capital, and everybody knows, if you're building a technology platform from a UI to the back end to the front end of it, because you need a staff. You're paying engineers, $60,000 to $100,000 for their work. And so in this instance, I need to be able to raise $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. So when it comes down to, you see Smash GG and Battlefy and Tournament and all these platforms, when you look at the amount of that they've raised, you see it as significant. And so for me, I was always looking at that as like, man, I'm building this from scratch with my own money, and I want to be able to raise capital, but it was increasingly hard. And then when I thought about where I from a sports background perspective, I looked at the sports NBA 2K, Madden, FIFA, they do not have the reach as a League of Legends or even the FGC community. So I was just like, that's even harder. I have to be able to build a community for those those entities, just so I can allow them to come onto the tech platform. So therefore, I can be able to show the users that are on the platform, just so I can be able to go to a VC and say, this is what we've created, and this is why I need $1 million to $10 million to keep this platform going. And when I started to recognize that just wasn't going to, was like, well, we are already building the community because of that, so let's continue to build the community. And ultimately, I was able to find opportunities from building the community. And then ultimately, I'm like, okay, well, I see the industry is moving in a different direction. And I see that as we're building this community, we're also providing opportunities. And as we're providing opportunities, now we can build a better tech platform, providing more opportunities. So the challenge for us was just the fact that we were forced to do this all on our own, right? So I haven't had to take any VCs right now. And at this point, it was like, man, it could have been so much easier if that investor or that someone was like, all right, we would rather give you this capital so you can go and compete with the best. But ultimately, we just had to get it out the mud and just really be able to say, no, this is our true value. And ultimately, now it's going to become and say they did for this long. And then from there, now it's going to be better when it comes down to showing our valuation as a company. So that's more from a business standpoint. But I look at it as, you're not just going to, you have to work 10 times harder, like on this panel has stated. And I look at it as like, it just builds your skin. And when you think about when you go through those tough times, you're looking at it as like, I'm glad I went through those, because now I'm able to exceed expectations because of how difficult that journey was. And when I look at being able to raise here in the future, or even now, even looking at raising, because we're figuring out a way to be able to make capital for our company. Right now, I'm at 21 staff members that I employ. So all of the individuals that I'm seeing from high school to college to individuals who are minor, and I'm looking at it as like, man, we figured it out. So if I had to go back to those investors, I'm moving and saying, hey, look at this platform that has been created. He's like, it looks good, but you don't have enough traction. Now I feel as I don't have to go to Mark Cuban anymore. Mark Cuban knows that he has a space that is in in the Dallas area, Mavs Gaming,
Right.
but now I'm competing with Mark Cuban because I have a space in the southern sector, right? So now it went from me asking for money to me now competing. And so now I wake up thought process that I compete with a billionaire. So for me, it gives confidence, and I let anybody know that they can be able to do whatever they feel like they put their mind to. And I think that's one of the things where I see the obstacles, but if you can get past those obstacles, you can also inspire everybody else to be able to get past their obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, quick round of applause for Danny Martin. Mm-hmm. Just dropping like nuggets.
I feel like that's bars right there, bars.
For real.
You know, we gotta give it up to you for that, man. Just you know, painting that picture for us, what it's like to have to go in and get capital expenditures as a Black business owner. We don't hear these stories about capital enough because there's not enough of us making that stride yet.
Yeah.
The ones who do hit that wall and they give up. So the fact that you kept going, man, is about the type of guy that you are, and it's inspirational to see. Because I know a lot of us, you know, when we're done with our broad careers, we're thinking what's next, and a lot of us want to do the same thing. We want to put capital down on our big idea and make it happen. So shout outs to you, man. I don't think I can state enough how awesome the chat right now. They're loving the speech that you gave as well. So
for sure,
I think everyone felt that one for sure. Shidosha,
Dope.
I know that's going to be a tough to follow, but man, you've been in the industry for a minute.
Yeah, man.
In the industry for a minute, so you got stories.
And I'll be as honest as I possibly can. The landscape today was not what it was back in like 2009, 2008, 2007. It just was not. And so, first off, I want to be clear. I came in as a college dropout. Straight up. I didn't know anything. And I think one of my fears at the time was the fact that I thought I didn't know anything. But I had the one gift that worked more than anything, and that was the ability to stand out. And I think it's even easier to do when you're at the time, this is how I felt. It was easier to do when you're in a field where there's no Black people anyway. So let's talk about microscope thing we just brought up a moment ago, and how you have to do everything twice as hard or whatever. It was easy for me to be a disruptor. It's like I will walk into eating with a shirt on my head. You've seen me do it. I've done this. But the point of the statement, I'm here, and this is what you're going to get. And I'm going to soak up as much game as possible. What ended up happening was things like, never would have thought I'd had my first year into all of this to work with Sega. Like I said, I brought it up earlier. That came from me bullying them in a sense and doing something I didn't even know I was capable of doing at the time, which was convincing. The reality was here, I had this platform that they've never heard of, Twitch. And you can get exposure on this new game you guys want to show off. You should probably consider it. And I'm pretty good at the game, so I can make it look good. Consider that. From there, I just learned that in everything that you do in here, the best thing to do is just communicate ability and continue to push forward with your knowledge. It shouldn't be a challenge. Not knowing should never be an issue that you have. And what ended up happening inspired a lot of people to kind of comfortable in their own skin. Something as simple as a shirt on my head. It did. It made people feel comfortable being in this space and being confident in making a statement. And as I got some luxury and get to know people within it, I got more chances to do more things and then share more resources amongst others. It was something that I still enjoy doing until this day. Just again, you never know who you might inspire to do what. And personally, I want to go the entrepreneur route as well. That is something I'm looking forward to doing in the future. But while I'm here, I want to make sure that I get everybody else on board that wants to see this media thing happen, because there's plenty of room for all of us in here. And more than just being a silly YouTuber doing Let's Plays, still. If you want to be like a full source in the media or entertainment or any of those realms, it's very, very possible. And you'd be surprised who's willing to face that stuff and teach you anything. So don't be afraid of, especially now, definitely don't be afraid to be different, because we're slowly getting to a place different. It's not only welcomed, but very necessary. So that's what I.
Yeah. And Shidosha, I think it's. Go ahead, Erin. Sorry.
I want to add one more thing. Kind of touching on what everyone's saying and Danny, because we're chatting with chat. I think another thing that's also been a challenge, but also as we have taken the time to understand, it's really helped us with our decisions, is understanding the business industry. When you learn more about the business side of this industry, there's a lot of crap and unfortunate things that are tied to it.
That's what I'm learning now.
Allows you to maneuver, because at the end of the day, even though we all love gaming and everything like that, it is still business. And so there's certain components that you have to view it that way. And also in some ways you can't take certain things personally. Like for example, I just put in the Twitch chat, like, I'm not afraid to let everyone know, but actually some part of my business contracts with certain companies, I've actually been inquiring about equity. And that's another thing too, that is so, it's not just about the short-term money that you get, but thinking about developing multiple revenue sources and revenue sources that you don't have to actively deal with, and you're still having in. Because the biggest, especially in our community, is generational wealth gap. How do we close that gap? And so if you ever have a chance to, if it's a new company or if you have an opportunity where you're bringing a lot more value to the platform, to be sure to inquire about equity and stocks. And that is so important. Don't have it just be you get this payout and then we're done. If it's a company that you believe in and you see value, do not be afraid to ask for equity percentage.
Yes, can I add on to that as well? Just giving a perspective on what I'm experiencing on a consistent basis. Even just a minute ago at 5 o'clock, on an influencer by the name of Bebe, Hollywood Bebe, who's a radio personality, and I brought him on board things. He was like, "Man, I like your company. I want to see if I can be a part of this company for a long term." When you think of and the cool thing about not having to take investment, right? Ownership in this company. I pretty much own the whole thing, right? So I have that amount to give when it comes to equity for individuals who have influence, right? It's a drop in a bucket to say, oh yeah, for sure. Here, if you're going to do a really good job and you bring your enthusiasm and you bring your reach, it only, right? Because I want you to feel like you're part of this company. I want you a part of this company, and I just made those, so I'm getting those on a consistent basis. When you think of entities like FaZe Clan and Offset and all the entities in which you see, I'm sure they got equity. And even when you think about VC firms out there, the VC firms are putting up a lot of money. Individuals who have the influence, they are taking equity, right? They may not have to put up a lot of money on themselves, but they're I was going to cuss, but I'm sure they are taking in equity when it comes down to it. So when it comes down to it, I think that what Erin has stated is you should power to be able to say, hey, here's some long-term assurance for yourself for companies. And I think for me, that's here at our company now.
I have a really quick thing. I know you have to move on, Malik. I just this real fast thing.
Bro, just jump in.
I have changed the fundamental way I talk about not only the work that I do, but the way that I'm approaching the conversation about the Black community with other non-Black companies. It used to be a visual, we need to be here and be seen part of that. Again, Paramount, that's the reason why all the stuff that I've been able to do has been great, and everybody else who's pushing has been able to do. But I fundamentally the conversation based on things that Erin and everyone else has been talking about, because I understand that everything that is Black culture one wants. It is a part of the fundamental parts of everything that you see in all of entertainment. We are the first movers, the fast movers. We are the ones who make everything hot, and we are the ones that continue to make everything move. That being the foundation of that conversation, I am in every boardroom, in every meeting, I'm talking about why are we not connecting with this community in a real way? Why are we not having these conversations in a real way? We know that we are 2% of the market, 2% of the industry, but we make up 99% of what pops on every platform that ever has happened in all these spaces. You need to put money towards development, towards marketing, because we buy stuff, continue to push things forward. So like that's a part of the conversation as well, besides equity, of needing to understand that, like, if you're not serving the market, other people will serve that market in a real way. And you need to be in that space to have your voice heard in that way too. So that's another part of the station for sure.
Right, right. I feel everything you guys are saying. If I could retweet it all, because at this point in time, we have gotten to that point where, yes, the accessibility to Black faces in the gaming space is becoming more prevalent. We're starting to get a little shy. I would love to see ownership start to incline and start to go up and increase. We need more ownership, so much more ownership. So thank you guys for all weighing in on that. To move on to another part of the conversation. First, I want to say, anybody in the chat, if y'all have any questions that y'all want to ask, we're getting back around to the questions in the chat right now. And also, I want to take a time to say, if you have not donated, we have a Spotify link. Operating System has thrown it in the chat a few times, but please show your support. Black Lives Matter and donate to that link. It is Juneteenth. We're here celebrating. We're here kicking it, but we're also trying to raise money for the cause. So the link's right there in the chat. And guys, real quick, moving forward, there's been a lot of stuff in the news, a lot of companies out speaking about, the Black community in gaming. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are. If there's anybody comes to that, or anybody whose approach you want to kind of call them out for. Whoever wants to go first. She was like,
oh yeah, look at that.
I'm like, don't, okay. I wrote an article on this because I thought it was important. A lot of people, I know we've all been the N-word on a certain live on a console, right? And so when you see people being like, man, Black Lives Matter, but we just added a girl for the first time to our game and we still ain't had no Black people. But I go on your LinkedIn and I look and no Black people. How? You mean our dollars? Say that. Say you can't afford to lose us. Expect that. But of course they're not going to say that. And so I wrote the article, put down companies that said something. And companies and I literally linked their LinkedIn. But where are the receipts? Your receipts are showing that you don't. I mean, receipts are showing that this is a very good PR move. And I just really don't want Black people to be a trend anymore. I don't want that. And that's all that it feels like, because now everything is just being televised. These are things that we have lived through, things that we have seen, but now that it's being widely televised, now more people are concerned or actually being concerned. And with the gaming industry, I feel like we have been yelling about, like we have started yelling even more. I know that Black Girls did a very good job telling Overwatch to get their ish together. And you know what I mean? And more people are like, why haven't we? And I just want the company to do better. I want them to not have diversity hires. Like, I don't just want you to drop Black people into weird features that don't, you know what I mean? Like, and they don't have like a real backstory or anything. You're Black. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to be an afterthought at all. Like, I don't want that. I wrote the article, and a couple of companies I mentioned, these people haven't really done that in the past. Like, literally the next 6 months to a year, we're going to be looking for some sort of change. And I'm going to keep checking back. I'm going to keep looking at their LinkedIn. I'm going to keep shooting my shot because, like I said, I'm taking these for receipts. You know what I mean? And right. To know, are you really trying? And the crazy thing is that, like, I don't think I'm end all be all. This is only a portion of our talent. So I'm not like, if they don't hire me, they racist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you don't have any Black people, it's a problem. You want our culture. Y'all want to use Kanye's music in your trailer, but you don't want to have Black people in the soundtrack. You don't want to have Black people producing it. You want to take the one song that you heard that made, the Billboard, woo the band, blah, 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 and then you want to use that, but you don't want to integrate anything else. You want to use Black culture to hype up your game and then get the Black dollars and then never come back again. And I don't like that. I'm glad that they did, because, you know, any representation anywhere is a good thing, but I really want them serious. And like, I can't even express how much I put my heart into being like, I'm really watching y'all, and I really want y'all to do the best that you're supposed to. Spend the money, make the divisions, you know what I mean? Like, if you need to do that and you put Black people and people of color, do it, because y'all have the money, and you're gonna lose way more money not including us. You know, what's, because Black people are creating their own spaces, and then they can be like, y'all not letting us in. No, you can't come in. You're not invited. You can't sit with wearing pink, whatever. You know,
right.
That's free. I'm just heartbroken. I'm heartbroken that this is the event, you know, that has to happen, because in games with like diverse characters, there's not a lot of Black people. You know what I mean? That means some white dude was like, we should add a Black person. They're like, oh yeah, we should add a Black person. Like, you know, it was, I just don't want an afterthought. I appreciate it. I'm not
I want to add to that real
good job. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to add to that as well, I do want to shout outs to the companies that not only posted a call to action that they're going to do, because the biggest issue is the lack of accountability. Thanks for the messages. Glad to see people taking a moment of silence or a day. No, don't take it off, and not without some course of action in regards to how we're going to progress forward for every. Color. Come on, what are you going to do for them? Exactly. The donations are cool that they've gone there. Also, what's your plan for an overhaul within your industry? The inner workings. What are you doing in regards to that? How are you? I don't want Black people, and you're not going to give them any room to grow. Again, any equity. We're not going to give them care about your sentimental messages, and you'll do nothing about it. One is, I'm not afraid to say names. I pay very close, especially right now, to everything Activision is doing in Call of Duty, because they said something. Just because they said something, I want to see, because the whole, I muted my microphone because they don't pay attention. Now it's something. So I'm unmuted now. Let's see how they go about these things, playing hashtags and all of that other stuff. And that's the minute stuff. That's just game. I'm not even talking about the corporate structure, the frameworks, and I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about simple things as moderation. I want to see all that stuff you're talking. Well, let's see that tolerance you're talking about. Let's see. I just want to see, because that's just an example of progress.
Every year. They sell us this game every year, and you can't, like Rainbow Six Siege, like you need to step your game up, because there's ways to.
The predatory practices. And they take advantage of the community a lot with those. I mean, that's a whole nother thing that we could have right now. I mean, I have my thoughts about Activision too, and I work for them, I work with them. Let me get that one straight. I work with those guys. And I have thoughts. I have thoughts about Activision and Blizzard and the way that they handle things, Overwatch, all that. We have less than 10 minutes.
Just quickly, I want to mention something that I also do want to identify and also note that there are people at some of these companies that we don't like, who are trying and working their best to change the culture, to change. Shout out to Andy S. Blades, who's doing a phenomenal job with Leon over at Ubisoft. Even shout out to Angela Roseborough, Chief Diversity Officer at Games. I know that she's been actively trying to work and integrate with HBCUs, and it was transpired. There are people at some companies that are doing as much as they can to change not only the culture of the company, but also trying to integrate and have more opportunities for people of color into this space. And even I've had personal conversations with people and some friends at like even some of the top esports orgs and companies. And, you know, I've straight up have told some of them, if you thought you were doing it, you have to do better. And that if you are utilizing Black athletes, if you have Black pro players on your organization, if you use Black artists, if you use anything from Black, only to put your money where your mouth is, but you actually do better than what you're doing. Don't just always bring people onto your platform. Support the Black-owned media that are there. Support the Black hosts that are already there. Like, it's not about, and I tried to explain to them, like, I get it, platform, but it's not just about bringing people onto your platform, because that ultimately gives you guys numbers and views, and it's from a business standpoint. But why don't you actively support those who already have their platforms, who've been working so hard? So, I know I've been personally actively like having these very uncomfortable conversations, and when I say uncomfortable, it's not uncomfortable. But that's the only way that we're gonna address changing things. It's having these unfiltered, candid conversations. And I'm happy that there are people who are changing. There are some people who are getting more support who've been doing these initiatives, and we just got to keep pushing and holding people accountable. And we're going to have to keep doing that even moving forward when the news cycle ends or down.
Yeah. Kahlief, you want to add anything to that?
Nah, Erin dropped it. Bars. There was all bars. Right
That's it.
Erin, you said it all. You said it all. I feel like we have reached that point where it's time to let us be and just embrace us and appreciate what we are bringing to the table. I can't explain how different it is to be included as a diversity hire as opposed to actually being included as somebody who's respected as a professional. I've dealt with this in my career, and this will be the first time I actually talk about this openly in front of people. But a part of my departure from the Overwatch League was because I didn't feel like I was getting that reciprocated. I'm sitting in these boardrooms and I'm telling them, like, there are ways you buy majority access to consoles. There's a way for us to like connect with them. They were like, well, we're just gonna put you out there and let you do your thing. So when I walked away from the Overwatch League and everybody's like, you turned down this paycheck, what you doing? I'm like, well, bro, at the end of the day, like, getting paid money, it can be dirty. Where it's like, yo, I need to have some type of like ownership over the image of myself that is being put out there. And if I can offer any of to anybody who's getting into esports or getting into any form of entertainment as you're moving forward, is make sure you are working with people who reciprocate, just the respect that you give when you're out there creating content, because there are a lot of people who will just try to token you and let you just be that one Black person. And that's not fair to you.
To bring the Black people, and you're like, I don't know all of them. They're not in my phone. That's not how this works.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Nah.
Right.
Yeah. Just let it be known. Let it be known, yo. If you want to connect, you got to give me some control over making that connection, and let that be the end of it. That if they want to bank extra, and that's just it.
Yeah,
so,
that's it. Get your coin. Get your coin, because they wouldn't be talking to you if you weren't valuable. Your coin, absolutely.
Yes.
I've been telling everybody in the past 3 weeks.
Bring that consultation fee, because if they're asking you how to change the industry, that's
yes, it is.
I told everybody in the past 3 weeks, since we've had all this energy here, raise your rates.
Especially right now. Yep. Especially right now.
Raise your
rates.
You better
do it.
Yeah.
You better put that diversity consultant on your resume.
Yep.
And to kind of,
I put that people all the time. If you want info, I got info.
Yeah, that's something that I experienced too with the production company. Most of our staff is of minorities, and so just knowing that you have to work 10 times harder, to where if I can get in this community, I can charge less, right? For our whole production team, in which other production companies can be able to charge way more to do productions, even in this time of COVID, when more productions are via that of online or X or whatnot. But I had that thought process. If I go really low, then I'll get more opportunities. But then I started like, no, man, you guys have really good production work, and you don't have to be so low. You don't have to your rates down so low just to be able to compete. You're up there with it. We had to come to our staff and say, all right, let's go ahead and start this push out better when it comes down to engaging with the community. So that's something that we're actively figuring out of our value.
Very good. Very good. Yo, guys, this conversation is so good, and I want to keep going, but we got to keep things moving. So, without any further ado, I just want to say thank you to y'all for coming in, sitting here on Juneteenth. This is the day we're supposed to be celebrating with us. Could have been anywhere. Here with us. So, thank you. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to Operating System for giving us this platform for us to have this discussion. And all the people in this panel, these guys, like I said before, they are trailblazers in this industry. Just in the world, period. And you want to stay on the pulse of what's going on in the gaming industry and geekdom, and just in blackness. So make sure you follow all these folks. And with that, I guess I would love to give everybody like one quick second to just give a shout out or anything, say any last words before we get out of here. Starting with you, Shidosha.
And over the last couple of weeks, one thing I will say I'm very grateful for is that so many people who are brilliant have stepped up to say, just so you know, I'm brilliant. I've followed each and every one of them, and I'm a fan of all of y'all. So when I'm back in, and boy, is it just great to be amongst people that just got so much more wealth of knowledge than I had before. I get to learn off of y'all. So thanks. And all I got.
Salute, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kahlief.
Have a backup plan. Try to figure that out early. Multiply your streams, multiply the ways you can be helpful, multiply the ways you can do that outside the community. We talk a lot about what's outside the community kind of affecting us. We really do a better job of sharing inside the community too. Collaboration is key. Making sure that we're all working and building our own stuff is going to be the way that we have to worry about other people coming in and just vulturing the space. So build your own stuff.
Right.
I'm for group economics, so talking more.
Yes.
I'm with you on that. Erin, your turn.
Adding on to that, not only the sharing information, but if you're in a position where you have a lot of knowledge, information, education, make sure you share that. It's so important because there's some people that may know how to even enter this industry or what to do or how to do things, and our information will help them with either entering or growing their own thing. I know Malik and I, big props to also Malik. He's me with getting a group of broadcasters together. We have a panel next Wednesday at 2 p.m. where we're literally going to give you guys free information on how to have a broadcast space and what you need to do. We have people who are part of production staff, top hosts and casters and commentators in the industry, as well as a talent developer who will also speak about how she's helped me to become a better host on camera. So it's a free educational informational session it's in partnership with Community and a few other companies, eFuse, as well as Do Not Peak. So if you guys like to check that out next Wednesday.
Lovely. Yes, that is going to be awesome. Coming up next week. Junae.
I just want to say I love all you guys. Of esports, you do matter. You're being amazing. I actually do teach people how to write game reviews, how to get free games and all of that stuff. So please hit me up. I am open for any discussion, that fun stuff. I went to school for journalism, so I could teach y'all how to use that pyramid that they be trying to get y'all to use to write. I am here for everybody. I appreciate all you guys. I love having this many amazing people in my network. Follow me, shameless plug, because I be playing random games and things like that, and I would love to play with you. I'm a huge community person, so all you gotta do is be like, let's play this game, as long as it's not a scary game.
And last but not least, Danny.
Yeah, so just thankful for even being on this base. I know I'm pretty much oddball inside of the discussion, and with the fact that it's from a business perspective, but I just feel privileged to be in you guys' presence and ladies' presence because I've seen able to see you guys and ladies work. I just looked at being in this industry as from an education standpoint, and I think that's why I have a really big drive now to like Erin stated, is just to give the perspective of businesses like in esports to the individuals who really need it, want to be able to get into this industry from all walks of life. So I'm OS Studios, Black Crystal. Thank you so much for sending me a DM and just allowing me to be a part of this event. And I really want to make sure that everybody on this panel discussion I can be able to work with in some type of capacity in the future. So I'm just supremely super thankful for just this opportunity. I won't take it for granted, and I'll go make sure I provide more opportunities for other individuals. Micah's looking at this too, so they're looking at this as like awesome.
Shout outs to them. Shout outs to them.
Shout out.
Cool.
Yes.
And with that, that is a close to our panel. Thanks again, everybody watching. Have a happy Juneteenth. We will see you out on the interwebs. Peace out, y'all.
Turn up.
Bye.
Bye.